My name is Joshua K. Sabra Esquire, and with him as always, Dr. Miles Salisbury, and you're listening to the Miles Ahead podcast, the intersection between mental, physical, and spiritual health for those on the path of the warrior. Stay tuned. And we are live again here from our undisclosed location with our executive producer, John in the other room. I am your co-host, Josh. With him as always,
Dr. Miles Salisbury.
Dr. Miles Salisbury. And we are following up our conversation on PAMA with a conversation on the Reticular Activating System, your vibe, and your frequency, which is super exciting stuff. I kind of just found out about this like 3 years ago. It was like very recent for me.
The RAS or the vibe and frequency?
The frequency and the vibes. The Reticular Activating System, Tony Robbins kind of keyed me in on that.
Yeah, that's neuroscience. I think Hubermann's talked about it a few times. It's thrown around a lot in our field very loosely. But if you talk to like someone like Hubermann, will break it down into its how it works in the brain, how it works psychologically. That's more our realm. But tell us how it works in the brain. I can look it up, but I don't really know the function that well.
Well, so I've spent a lot of time here because coming from an unfortunate origin story or a disadvantaged background, you got to sort of create your own luck, and you got to use whatever strategy you have access to in order to get there. And when I first found out about the reticular activating system, I tried to like figure out where in my life like this is true. Basically, this is part of the structure that neuroscientists use to explain why or how our beliefs.
There's the definition right there.
Oh, thank you. The reticular activating system is a network of neurons located in the brainstem that project anteriorly to the hypothalamus to mediate behavior, as well as posteriorly to the thalamus, directly to the cortex, for activation of awake, desynchronized cortical EEG patterns. So, essentially, it dictates what you see and what you do with that information.
Well translated from neurobiology to psychology.
So there we are. And so your life is a product. Your life matches the beliefs that you subconsciously agree with. And your beliefs, we don't think of our beliefs. We question all beliefs except for the ones we actually believe, which we just consider the wallpaper of our lives. So,
well said.
so you have a sense of what you believe about health, money, time, how you relate to these things. Is you don't think about time as the most valuable resource, and time is finite. You don't think about those consciously because you have to occupy space in your mind. That's just what the quote unquote the way it is. You don't actively even address it most of the time, but that's how it is. And if you want to, this is a deep rabbit hole, but we're here and this is fun. The way that I when I read this book, I was in my 20s, about, I think it was Awaken the Giant Within.
Tony Robbins.
Yeah. And I read this, and like, two people, based on their discernments, their backgrounds, their expertise, can have the same conversation, walk away with completely different experiences and opportunities gleaned from like one conversation, one moment. And I remember being in my 20s using the reticular activating system to figure out how to get more days with women. And
that sounds like
a great way to use your reticular activating system. But what I would do is I would have an almost infinite ability to problem solve if I were trying to figure out how to go on a date, go home with a girl, whatever it is, like I would just compress. Like someone would say like, oh, my favorite restaurant is on the west side and I live out in Beaverton. So I'm already drawing a map of like how we get to these different places. And then I'm like, okay, but then I only have 6 hours before I have to start my shift at the gym. So then I have to like go home, brush my teeth. So I've already solved all the problems.
Intelligence packet done.
So I'm like, okay, so we step out of this bar, we hop on the number 2, we go downtown, we have a cocktail and a bite at this place. Then we hop on the Max, we go out, and so it's like, I've got it all figured out. And it's all happening like in 10 seconds of this conversation. So the reticular activating system is real, and it's based on what you're focused on. In fact, a summary is your life experience is really just where your attention is placed and what you're focused on. If you're focused on how you can get more dates, how you can spend more time with a girl,
your brain will find
you will find it.
Yeah.
If you're focused on the pain that you have in your hip, your life's really going to be painful because it's going to occupy a lot of your attention.
It's going to revolve all around that. Your brain's going to go look for ways to like confirm that truth into the world externally.
Love it or hate it, you are choosing where to place your attention, and you're choosing how to create your reality based on your reticular activating system and what you are filtering for. And we're filtering for against these certain objectives, goals, beliefs, or probably what thousands of years ago were just resources. Like, we need food. Okay, find all the food on the horizon. I can only see food sources.
Go look for that.
Yeah. Okay. Ooh, we've got a saddle, or we've got a butte that has a gully. Usually there's water. Let's go follow that.
We're filtering out, looking for the game to hunt. Bushes don't matter, but our brain sees game. It's a filtering system, the RAS. Like I was saying before, jokingly, like you're shopping for Mini Coopers and you're like, man, I see these motherfuckers everywhere now. Well, they've always been there. You just weren't looking for them. And now your brain's like, go find them, go find them, go find them. And now they're fucking everywhere.
That's right. That's right. So this is where it gets a little woo-woo, because you choose what you pay attention to. You choose what's important to you. And that occupies most of your attention. And that kind of becomes what your life is about. And the frequency comes into play when we start to pay attention to what our relationship is with where our attention is placed. And typically where our attention goes, there's an emotional response to whatever we're observing or looking at. And we were just talking about back the car analogy, or using car as an example.
Or hot chicks.
Or beautiful women, or beautiful men, if you roll that way, whatever it is that you're into.
It's all good.
You may see, like I may see a Ferrari and nothing happens for me because I don't have any emotional resonance with that. And it doesn't trigger anything inside of me. But if I see a 1966 Impala 382 2-speed,
there's a little bit of arousal.
Oh man. It's like my chest, like I can feel the testosterone start to expand my lung capacity. I'm like, oh, I'm taking bigger breaths. I'm excited.
Your pecs just kind of get bigger all of a sudden?
I mean, not just my pecs.
Can you sit in the car?
So the vibration, the frequency is a measure of your relationship with wherever it is your attention is placed. And if I pull out David Hawkins' large diagram of the map of consciousness levels from
Dr. David Hawkins.
Dr. David Hawkins.
Got a PhD. Yeah. It's a professional courtesy thing.
Yeah, I'm unprofessional.
Yeah, I mean, I'm giving him kudos, because it's like there's so many people that are just like, Steve writes a book on emotional frequency, and it's like about crystals and shit. I'm like, that's not what we're talking about. Like, this guy has an actual doctorate in this stuff, and like he goes a little more like
he was committed,
critical to
yeah.
Paddington's.
We got some extra dog growls on the podcast today. We're leaving him in. We're leaving him in.
He sees a squirrel, I think.
Oh, lucky.
His reticular activating system.
Yeah, that's a great example. He's excited. I know, man. I got excited too. Yeah. I'm excited for you. So Dr. David Hawkins is taking the time to write a book called Power versus Force, and great book. Yeah, it was turned on to me by James Wedmore, and kind of my gateway into this whole world. Lately, it's been tossed around a lot by Patrick Bet-David, who runs a media company called Valuetainment.
Good podcast.
And a good podcast. But the map of consciousness levels goes from low frequency to high frequency. We're not going to go through all of them, but these are like the gravity of the emotions that a human can feel, or states that a human can be in, from lowest to highest. So at the lowest of the ends of the spectrum, you've got grief. Even lower than that, apathy or shame, pretty low, pretty heavy. Up above that, you've got desire, anger, pride. These are still lower on the spectrum, but they're still in the destructive energy end of the spectrum, as labeled by Dr. David Hawkins, because they're still a response to internal conditions or external conditions. So they're in relation to the outside world. Whereas the creative energy, a little bit higher up on the spectrum, courage, equanimity, peace, reason, and understanding, acceptance. These are sort of the closer to the gratitude end of things, where you're acknowledging and accepting and bringing into your awareness, cultivating a state of awareness with whatever it is you're understanding, joy, love, appreciation. These emotions have different frequencies as measured on the electromagnetic spectrum. Forget the type of mechanism that he uses to identify these with. I don't need to stare at this thing anymore. Anyway, it's really cool. We'll post a link in our show notes or episode description, or both.
Maybe I'll write that down so I don't forget.
Yeah. So the frequency is kind of a measure of your relationship with the idea, the concept, the person, the thing, where your attention is, wherever your attention's placed. And where your attention is placed is what your reticular activating system is filtering for. And these are all byproducts of your beliefs about what's important to you and what your opportunities or obstacles are. So these are a lot of things. All of these things are dovetail off of each other and are formed off of kind of your identity and the way you see the world and the way you see yourself. So back to frequency and the RAS. Your relationship with a Ferrari might be like mine. You might not have any real connection or belief structure about it. Your relationship to money is probably not like mine, because you and I have different experiences. Mm-hmm. Your relationship to yourself, to your significant other or potential partner, or men or women, all these rules, these beliefs inform, are part of how you engage with the world and affect your frequency. So your frequency and through your reticular activating system, that is really going to inform how easy it is to get what you want, to have the life experience that you want to have. And that's my definition of success, by the way, is getting the things you want with as little effort and energy expenditure as possible.
Interesting. Doesn't have to be a slog, drag, knock around.
Doesn't have to be a sufferfest. And I think the part of what makes people unhappy is not the things that they're doing, but the relationships with the things they're doing. You can't build muscle without lifting weights. Lifting weights is a meditation for me. Like, I'm in my hips, I'm in my body, and yes, sometimes I am feeling pain. I am stuck. I'm feeling frustrated about a movement, but am exploratory. Almost in the enlightenment and the joy end of it, because I know that attention and time are the currency of love, and I'm giving it to myself when I do exercise and when I move. But some people, it's a sufferfest. Some people, they hate it. They're not, they judge themselves. They feel shame and guilt. They feel all those low vibration emotions, low frequency emotions when they're, exercising at all, when they're training, going upstairs. Everything is I shouldn't have to do this. This sucks. I suck at this.
The beliefs around it.
Yeah, their beliefs, their experience is bad or painful. I don't like using the word bad, but their experience is painful because of the things that they believe about it, and that's their relationship with it. So I have knee pain, I have back pain, you might as well, but we may experience it completely differently. And because I'm not in a conversation where I ask the question, why is this happening to me? Why do I have pain? Why can't I just have a perfectly functioning body? Because I don't want to live the answer to that question. So there's some thoughts on frequency. Got anything to add so far? Yeah. What's your experience with all this?
It's more with the RAS and the filtering system, the psychological aspect, and what you're putting your attention on. It's kind of, you're sending your brain on a journey to find those things to confirm their reality and existence in the world. Probably comes from evolution, probably comes from hunting, like we were talking about. But when we start talking about frequencies and vibration, I get the heebie-jeebies, new agey, sage and crystal rubbing stuff coming out, and it's like X-Files. I want to believe, and at the same time, I'm like, this is, are we going to lose? Are we going to lose listeners talking about this kind of stuff?
Let's play with it, because take me to, so a concept of frequency, you're skeptical. Me too. I'm very new to this. It does seem like a little bit of like The Secret shit, where you're like, oh, so if I just picture
a check showing up in the mail,
well,
$1 million just going to show up.
Well, but so, oh yeah. Well, we're going to get into why we can't manifest things here in a second. Because
you mean without taking action?
Yeah.
You can't just sit there.
Yeah. Right. But like, the frequency and vibe thing is really.
Is that more like we were talking about last time? PMA, like putting yourself in that mindset. Is that a frequency?
Well, so let's let's zoom in on this, because if you grew up with beliefs that, my mom used to say all the time, so-and-so is rich. They're not like us. Now they're different. Now there's something characteristically different about this other human than me. Money doesn't grow on trees. Everything is expensive,
Everything.
We can't afford, like, all these labels that were permanent. We can't afford X, Y, or Z.
It's just the way we are.
It's just the way it is. Yeah. Right. So this starts to become the wallpaper. And it didn't feel true to me.
How were you able to not let that happen?
Well, a couple of things.
Because that's a strength, right?
Yeah. Well, so kids know when what you're saying doesn't make sense. There's a little bit of like, we can't afford this, or I mean, like, once you're 12 or 13, or I didn't even have the internet when I was a kid, but I did know that if I like mowed some lawns, I could get some money.
So it's a different truth all of a sudden.
It's a different truth. So like having access to a different reality, it's like, it doesn't seem like, because like, I wanted to play football when I was in 7th or 8th grade. And the cost of that was, I think it was like $140 to register and get some pads or something, or maybe more. I don't know. But I brought it home to my mom, and she was like, well, we can't afford that, but we could do track because the fee is only $40 or whatever. And I think she was just like, whatever I have in my wallet was like what dictated the thing. And I could feel that. I could feel like it wasn't really like she wasn't really sitting in it.
It was like no budgetary aspect.
Yeah, it was sort of just kind of an offhanded thing. And there was a casualness to it that I was like, this is kind of a big deal. And I just started to see that it was like, depending on the weather, depending on the day, the answer was different. And
it's consistent.
Yeah, it's inconsistency. So it just didn't feel that true to me. And I think that's and having positive relationships with people who had money. Like my grandfather was very good with money and very generous and just very kind.
The Army Airborne grandpa.
Yeah. Yeah. He was a amazing human being. Could do a whole podcast on the quality of character of that man.
We could sometime.
And sure, definitely.
We both have veteran grandpas. We probably should do. I've got two. We probably should do that. That'd be an interesting podcast.
Yeah, that'd be a good, memorial. So spending time with people, and then just getting to know that wealthy people are the ones I am friends with are the most generous, the most kind, the most giving of their time and energy to people to help them. So it just being open to that belief being challenged, because it didn't seem very strong. They didn't have a lot of data points, and it just didn't feel true. There was something in my internal compass that just was like, okay. And then like when I got my first job, I just remember seeing my paycheck. It was like $170 because I was working at KFC part-time. And I was like, I could like all of the things that I wanted were less than that. So I was like,
I'm rich, bitch.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I'm done. I'm retired. And it was just that simple. I was just like, oh, like it wasn't that hard. And you might be thinking, well, Josh, my bills are more than $170. And I agree. Mine are too. But
when you're 18,
when you're 15, when the narrative is nothing,
you are going up. We're moving on up in this.
Yeah, exactly. I could have food and booze. We're here. We've arrived. So the frequency game is like when you place your attention on it, what is it feel heavy? A lot of people feel very negative, and it's positive.
You need pause? Okay. Time out. And we're back. We just had some John's working hard in his VFX undisclosed location via Zoom. We can't talk about it, the work he's doing, but it's pretty freaking cool. I mean, we'll have him on the podcast sometime. He works in Hollywood, and his wife does too, and it's pretty freaking cool. But he's having a very audible business meeting around the corner. We're just hoping that this microphone doesn't pick it up. If it does, ignore it, because he signed an NDA. So
there we go. So at the end of the day, to actually fulfill to manifest something, you have to take creative action. There's the art of creation, the art of allowing, and the art of attraction, and they work together. If you get a check, I mean, there's so many examples of this, and we'll go back. I'm gonna let Miles chime in here. But if you get a check for $1 million, but you don't, if that money sets things off into you and these unconscious beliefs, very quickly your life will revert back to whatever the normal, whatever the
means.
Revert back to the foundation that your belief structure is set up. Revert to the mean. Your expectations of your life essentially set up what your life is about.
It's the classic example of the lottery winners.
Yeah. Yeah. And my favorite is the dude, the millionaire that won the lottery, like died of a drug overdose, like later. No, he didn't die of an overdose. It was stolen from him. He spent $100,000 of it on drugs and strippers. One of the strippers robbed him. Within 9 months, it was like less than a year, he had back to his normal life. He had lost everything, and probably had some lawsuits to settle too. So he was a net negative.
See, money is just a tool. What your beliefs are, it dictates how you use that tool. And he's like, yeah, hookers and booze or whatever, that's my tool. Well, that's what he got. But if you were taught differently or grew up differently, say you're more investment minded, or you were taught that there is a way that money does grow on trees. It's called investment. You would do something probably different with that. You might buy that Ferrari maybe, but that's only like a little gift you give yourself. And the rest, you'd put it away for your kid's college fund or whatever. But it seems like most lottery winners aren't that type. Like, to me, I'm like, what, if you're spending $10 a day on a lottery ticket, why don't you just throw it in an index fund, and then you will win the lottery a lot later?
Well, you're talking about a tactic versus strategy versus an operating system. The gentleman that we're talking about was addicted to pain pills, was 85 pounds overweight, and owned a construction company, and his best friends were strippers. So
Yeah, yeah,
so it's
yeah.
not about a strategy. It's about what problem are you solving with this money? And if money is his way he's solving is a sense of significance, self-importance,
solving for something,
and to change his relationship with himself, you can change your relationship with yourself right now. You don't need money to do it.
100%.
And that's sort of back to the law of attraction, is just raise your frequency. And you do that not through crystals or any weird shit that sage.
Yeah.
I mean,
maybe those.
I'm a big fan of
the placebo effect is alive and real.
I'm a big fan of crystals, but what I'm a better fan of is letting go of shit that you don't need anymore. And most of the time when we are stuck in a situation, we're holding on to things. So like you're depressed or I'm depressed. What I'm really doing is I'm placing my attention on something that is basically not true. I'm basically holding on to some belief about myself that I know isn't true. The nervous system knows it. It's subduing the anger and the resentment. So you're getting depressed and you're feeling down and low because you can't just move on. And I've felt that in personal experience. Now, when I talk about some of my personal trauma, it's not triggering because I've actually done the work of forgiving and letting go. And I still have resentment. By the way, I'm not fucking over it. I'm still pissed off and
did some extensive psychotherapy around this.
Yeah. The psychotherapy is the tool, and the surgeon is you. Though I'm the one doing the removal of the tumor.
Yep.
But it comes through actually the literal action of it is just admitting deep in my heart of heart, knowing right now that I was okay then, painful as it was, confused as I was okay then, and I'm okay now. And if you can get to that place with your trauma, instead of reliving that moment every second of your life and realizing that, it's scary to, be in a violent situation when you're very young. It's painful and confusing. And the people involved are also addled and, reckless in dealing with their own things. Well, so whatever trauma I'm still working through, just getting a grip and letting go of those big, huge rocks in my own duffel bag is the thing that has allowed me to raise my vibe and not raise my frequency and not sit in an angry, or a fearful state. Now that's not the same thing as manifesting. We're not even talking about law of attraction right now. That's part of it, but we're really just talking about how frequency works, what it does for you, how you can tell where your attention is, or how to tell your relationship with something by how you respond to it when your attention is placed on it. That's the purpose of understanding what your frequency is, what your vibe is around an idea, money, love, relationships, humans, people, fitness, health, guns and ammo.
All the good stuff.
All the good stuff. Okay. So we've covered frequency, the reticular activating system. And here's an exercise on the practical application of the reticular activating system. You can tell what your life is about based on what the topics of the conversations you're in all the time. Are you gossiping? Are you talking about other people? Are you talking about the people in your life who are your biggest problems? Are you focusing your energy on them? Are you attached to these toxic problems? You look at where your ideas go, where your attention goes, who you give your power to, what you're blaming. Look on your calendar, see where your time goes, where your appointments are. Look in your checking account and seeing where, like Miles has said, are you investing? Are you spending relentlessly? Hey, maybe you live a life of travel and adventure. Cool. Like there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
I'm a big fan of we only got one trip around this planet. You can do it however you want, but when you look at your time, your money, your energy, your attention, who you give your power over to, whether it's yourself or other people, your family, are those in alignment with what your values are, with what you think your beliefs should be? Is there a conflict there? Is it, what are the realities that become apparent when you spend some more time with that? When I did this audit, if you just write down the 5 people you spend the most time with, the 5 closest friends, they have a huge impact on your mental health, and a lot of they say a lot about your psychographics more than your demographic. And the first time I did this, I actually didn't like 3 of the 5 people that I wrote down.
You did not, but
Yeah.
you're spending a lot of time over them.
Yeah.
So they're going to average you out to something that you might not like about you.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Brought you down.
I wouldn't even put it on them for bringing me down. My relationship with those people was negative, and it was negative because I needed something from them I wasn't willing to give myself.
Ah, gotcha.
And for me, I had a bunch of, I have a codependent issue. I fall into codependency pretty easily, and without doing the work or having good boundaries, the root source of it was because I wasn't willing to love myself. If somebody else loved me, they were very important to me.
You were probably craving that as a kid.
Who doesn't want to be loved? So I'm craving it right now. But because I love myself now, not only do it's not a craving, I appreciate being appreciated. So if you want to say nice things about me, great, do that.
Icing on the cake.
I love it. But now I understand that at the best of times, it's just somebody who is a big fan of yours who might want you to behave a certain way for them. And at the worst of it, people are just openly trying to be sugary sweet to you to cater to your ego.
Yeah, or manipulate you or gaslight you.
So for me, that was I was creating the toxic relationship. It didn't really have anything to do with them. They're nice. They're nice and good people, and have lived happy lives afterward.
You taking extreme ownership.
Right? I'm a very good living example of the power of where you place your attention, and when you become conscious of it,
that's key. Conscious of where you are putting your intentions, awareness.
So to piggyback off the PMA and to create a simple a rubric for how to live with this, and you let the system work for you. Stop trying to manifest money. Stop trying to create a money outcome. Heck, if you're successful, that great. But instead, or focus on the experience you want to have.
Yeah, what is the experience that money's giving you? Is that it?
Right. So if you want to feel joyful and safe and powerful and creative, get in that state now. Manifest the things that bring that into you. And what you'll do, place your attention on those things and look for them in your life, and set an intention of being around more of the people that you like, doing more of those activities you like, generating that feeling, and you'll be surprised how quickly things change.
And that's the mystical part, right? It seems like magic. That's why it seems like the law of attraction. Like, oh, I didn't really even do anything, but you did. You changed the way you saw the world, and you behaved differently. You had different choices, and you met different people, and it all looks like magic. But yeah, you did something. You weren't just sitting there.
I wrote down. I was living in my friend's basement. I was in between places to live, so I was like living in this basement for like $180 a month or something. I think I paid my rent twice. I got evicted. I got evicted from one apartment living situation, and needed to move into a new place. And I was doing that. I'd lived with these friends for like a month. I was in therapy. First of all, it wasn't even therapy. My friend gave me a couple of exercises to do. He said, write down who you want to be. I wrote down the values and the characteristics of the person that I wanted to be. They're basically based off my grandfather. He said, just write down the opposite, and then start to acknowledge where you've been antithetical to your values, and what would be true. How would you show up if you were trying to live this way? And then write out what you want. And I wanted to live in a beautiful apartment in a walkable neighborhood, and I wanted to just have a completely different life experience than I did. And this is how fast this happens. I wrote that down in December 8th. No, was it even December? It was December 2011. January 5th, 2012, a friend calls me and says, hey, what are you up to? And I was in my aunt's house. I broke into her house to get some food and do her dishes, and sort of a repayment for that. She's like, what are you doing? And I was like, nothing. And she's like, well, where are you living right now? And I was like, well, living with friends. She's like, well, my buddy Joe Wilson needs a roommate, and he lives down in the Pearl, and he's only charging $500 a month for this extra room he's got. And I was like, huh, I happen to need a place to live.
It seems mystical, right?
It seems mystical. And so she calls, I pick up the phone. I call him, he invites me over, and I'm thinking he's going to ask for first and last, or even what, he doesn't know what I do. I don't think he asked me any questions. I walked in, he's watching the Hawkeyes game. He's from Iowa. He threw me the key. He's like, parking's $100 a month if you want to bring your car down here. I'm not moving the furniture out of my extra room, so put your stuff in storage. I'm like, great, I have nothing.
It was really working.
It was a furnished room in the Pearl, which is a beautiful neighborhood in downtown Portland, and it was just this really lovely experience, and it happened so fast that it does seem like magic. But if you sit in the question of what I want, and you already have the answer, or you say, I can't because, or you have all these beliefs blocking you, when you get that phone call and someone says, hey, do you want to live in the Pearl? Instead of being curious, you'll have all the reasons why you can't.
Just if you believe what your mom said, oh, that's not for me.
We're not like that.
We're not like that.
Yeah. And that's exactly correct. So good callback. Love you, Mom.
We don't hate our parents, by the way. We definitely talk about wounds, but they did their best. I mean, you may have a different opinion about your parents, but
they did their best.
Yeah, it's the truth. Yeah,
yeah. Sometimes I think people, when they have conversations like this, they're just shocked and appalled at what other people's bests are.
Yeah,
and that's if you have no exposure to what life is like outside of your bubble, your lived experience, it will be shocking and appalling. And that's, I think, back to the attachments and what do you think that means about that person? But no, I learned how my parents both are renegades, and I learned how to be wild from them.
And some good things came from it.
Hell yeah.
That's why you don't like the Ferrari. You like the muscle car.
That's right. Exactly right.
What does it say about me that I like the Porsche but not the Ferrari?
You like Germans, not Italians?
Interesting. I don't know if it's quite true, but I did live in Germany.
Sprechen Sie Deutsch?
Yeah.
There's a Porsche experience where you could go and you could rent. I think you rent a Porsche for 3 days, and you can drive it through the Black Forest and southern Germany,
and then drive it to the container where it takes it to your. You're talking about the buying experience, or you drive it to the port. That's part of it in Stuttgart. Yeah,
cool.
You can do that driving, and you drive it to where it gets on the ship, and then it gets shipped literally to you.
Sick.
Yeah.
When you can drive through the Autobahns, you take that thing up to 180.
Dude, driving in Germany is the best thing ever. They have it dialed. You cannot switch off there. and you have to follow these strict laws, and like it just deletes bad drivers, and it's expensive, and like you got to be committed to be a driver there. You can't space out. I love it. I can't say no good things. And then there's no speed limit. I mean, on the side streets there's speed limits, but the Autobahn just means freeway. Yep, you get after it.
Yeah.
And you can't be in that fast lane because you look up, no car, look down, look up, there's someone on your ass. So if you're not going like 180 kilometers an hour, get over.
Yeah. And Germans don't do defensive driving, they do offensive driving.
It's an offensive defense.
They know the rules. They're gonna follow the rules.
Yeah.
And so when you don't,
they'll enforce them.
God help you.
God help you. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, I have a lot of experience. I drove a 1980 Volkswagen Golf when you were
there.
Yeah. So it was like this little 4-speed hatchback. So I had no real speed, but when you have a manual, you can get get going in the first 4 gears, a little bit quicker. So, but I would always make that mistake because I would be slamming it, redlining it, brick on the floor, going as fast as I could, probably 90 or 100, miles per hour, maybe 110 at the most downhill, right? And then, like you said, you're screaming as fast as I've ever driven in my life, and then like a lightning bolt, there's a Mercedes behind you,
just right there,
that has like a debris trail because it's a comet that it's like flying,
it's flashing its lights like you better get the fuck out the way.
Yeah.
And if you're in the side lane or even the one over, you're literally like, a car goes and your car just goes to the right, like you just get blown to the right for a second. It's like, holy shit. It's really amazing. I love it so much.
Yeah, it's a good.
And then you come back here and then like people drive 40 in the 65-mile fast lane. You're like,
the Germans are the culture for socialism because they like the cog in the wheel, and metaphor for them, they want to be a part of something bigger, and they don't want to make it a bad experience for other people. Now, of course, they're assholes in Germany. Of course there are, but like in America, it's really irrelevant what the speed limit is for the person driving. The person driving in America, if they want to go 100, it's 100. If they want to go 40, it's in a 65. It's
and that's
40.
my right.
Yeah, and they just, no matter what is going on, they're no one cares about that until you get a ticket. And even then, I don't see people getting ticketed for going too slow.
No, and they should. It's really causes road rage.
It's like I keep thinking to myself, I'm like, this is a 55. You're not a delivery driver on a back street. What are you doing cruising so slow?
Go to the right lane,
put your
4-lane.
Put your hazards on.
Yes.
All right. Well, we
tangent. Sorry.
No, we're in agreement on drivers. Yeah. All right. So
a reticulating acting systems.
Your reticulating your RAS.
Your RAS.
Filtering it for what you want. Filtering it for what you're trying to bring into your life. Noticing where your attention is, what's your vibration with that, and then investigating the beliefs you have about that. And whenever you're telling yourself why something is or why you can't have something, or you're justifying, you're giving your power over to something, you're letting yourself off the hook from putting in good energy and good faith energy and effort, those are great places to like examine what your belief structure is. And ultimately letting go of those beliefs, attachments, and discernments that don't serve you, to raise your vibration.
Yeah.
Use your RAS to conquer the world and enjoy your life.
Yeah. Is it even your narrative? Like you shedded your narrative from upbringing. Like, no, that's not my belief system. But you had to examine it and pay attention. If you don't, like you said, the wallpaper will just be the same wallpaper wherever you live.
Yeah. And I got distracted for years, and it's easy. If you identify, like, a lot of people have some sort of toxic dynamic in their families, like, oh, we don't talk about, maybe it's money, or maybe we don't talk about how we feel, or we don't, you're not allowed to be upset at me or whatever. And you can resent that, and that can get in the way. It's like when you identify good boundaries and you realize you haven't had them, it's easy to be like, oh, well, pick up them, fuck you, mom, for not having, understanding what this stuff is. Yeah. That's just a waste of time.
Dude, they got the shit sandwich passed on to them too. And how many generations did that go back?
You only go back a couple of generations and no one can read. So like
before a war happened.
It doesn't, yeah, we're just really reaching.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's not productive.
Yeah, everyone was a farmer 100 years ago. So.
Feelings, fuck those. Just fucking milk the cows.
All right. Well, raise your vibe. Enjoy the Roaring 20s, even if you're 2024.
Yeah, it's the new Roaring 20s.
The new Roaring 20s. Kick ass, take names. See you on the path.
We are out.